Coming to you direct from Silencer Shop Studios, home of the Glass Case of Emotion.
SilencerShop.com, the easiest way to buy silencers online, period.
Stand by for education, enlightenment, enjoyment, and entertainment.
He's not here to talk about your feelings. He's not here to say what you want to hear. He's here to say what needs to be said.
Ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, please welcome your host, the pimp hand of America, Professor Paul Markle.
Hey, how you guys doing today? Doing all right? I'm glad to hear it. It is Thursday. This is Thursday's episode, and according to the calendar, let me see, according to the calendar, today would be the 20th of April, which means that yesterday we didn't talk about it on the radio. We made some mention of it on social media and on the Facebook and Instagram, but it was April 14th. And April 14th, 1775 is when American citizens, they weren't even American citizens yet, they were just citizens of the colonies of the Americas. They'd had enough, and they reacted to, Jared, what were they reacting to? Were they reacting to people trying to collect taxes from them? Is that what turned the patriots and the colonists against the king finally once and for all?
Well, if you read history, maybe the modern day history books, yes.
On April 19th at Lexington Green and then on Concord Bridge and then the road all the way back to Boston, our ancestors, our forefathers, they weren't fighting, they weren't shooting, they weren't engaging in active combat with state troops, representatives of the state, because they wanted to come out and collect taxes from them. No. The British were engaging, the regulars, the state was engaged in a gun confiscation program, a gun control program. That is what they were attempting to enact. And it wasn't the first time. I would hope that if you're a student of the gun, that you would also be a student of history, and you would understand that this was not the first time that the state had sent its armed representatives out to take away and restrict the ownership of firearms by the colonists and the people. This is actually the third time. So what really seriously pushed us into, yes, we'd had the Boston Massacre that occurred 5 years earlier. We had the Tea Party, and we had the rebellion or the complaints against the Stamp Act and the tarring and the feathering and so forth. But what really pushed us over the brink was the attempt by the state to restrict the ownership of firearms. The instruments of liberty.
What state are you talking about, like Massachusetts or like Illinois?
Talk about the government.
Okay, just wanted to clear that up.
You want to make sure that everyone understands that? Yeah, that I'm using the term state as in the government. How many of your friends and family members and relatives and coworkers actually understand? They're like, yeah, that was the day that they got fed up with the king's taxes, and they fought back by. It was like, no. The troops that day, they were trying to arrest a couple of political leaders. I believe they were after John Hancock. I have to go back and remember which two leaders were they after that day. And Paul Revere wasn't the only one that rode around. There were actually several guys that rode around the countryside and alarmed the countryside. But the reason that the regulars were coming or the redcoats were coming, they wouldn't have said the British. And I hope that you guys understand that the colonists who lived in Massachusetts and New Hampshire and Connecticut and all those places, they wouldn't have run around screaming the British are coming, because at the time there was no United States of America. They considered themselves to be sovereign British citizens with all the rights afforded the same as the people who lived on the islands of the United Kingdom. But what they found is that over time they had been treated like second-class citizens, and they didn't like it. They were too addicted to freedom And that's the part of the problem was the state, the ruling class, the parliament and the king, they couldn't understand why these peasants in the Americas, in the colonies, were so ungrateful and so unwilling to just, pay your fair share. What happened was that they came to the colonies and it was hard. It was rough. They had to work. They didn't have all the comforts and amenities that they would have had in London or Staffordshire or New Hampshire or whatever shire they were living in England. The Shire. They didn't have all the comforts of the Shire. And so they had to work. And they had to make their own lives. And the thing is, when they decided they were going to make their own lives, when they stepped out and they exerted some independence, what they discovered was that they didn't need a nanny state to hold their hands. A lot of the guys who went out and fought against the regulars and the redcoats that morning, April 17th or 19th, they were veterans of the French and Indian War, the 8 Years' War. They were combat-hardened veterans who had fought not to protect the islands of Great Britain, not to protect Scotland and Ireland and England and Wales. Sorry, didn't want to cut you out there, Wales. No, they fought to protect their own homes in New York and Delaware and you name it, Maine and Vermont. That's what they were fighting for. And I guess we need to, Jared, I think we need to take a moment and acknowledge the fact and be grateful that Facebook did not exist in 1775. Because if Facebook existed in 1775, I believe that we would probably still be, we probably wouldn't be a colony of Great Britain. What we probably would be is we would be half of the country would be speaking German, and the other half would be speaking Japanese. Because if there was Facebook in 1775, there never would have been a United States of America. What? That doesn't make any sense, Paul. What do you mean there wouldn't have been a United States of America? Well, that's how patriots in America, that's how we fight today. Isn't that right, Jared? We post on Facebook and we tell each other that we're fighting the good fight against tyranny. And every time the state comes down and decides that they're going to institute some extra constitutional and unconstitutional legislation, what do? We run to Facebook to complain and I'm mad and I'm fighting the good fight. And I'm gonna file an online petition. How's it? Hey guys, all you guys out on the West Coast out there, on the left coast in the glorious People's Republic of California, and you disarm slaves in the People's Republic of New Jersey and Massachusetts. Oh no, we're not slaves. We have special government-approved guns that we are allowed to have. The king allows us to have the special altered and modified guns, so we're really free. Yeah. So how's that like getting your freedom back going? And you're like, we filed an online petition, and I fought for my rights. I took 30 seconds to go online, and I signed my name to an online petition. That's it. That was my civic duty for the day. I complained on Facebook. I'm a patriot. Oh, I'm sorry. Does that hurt your widow feelings? Did I just swap you in the face with some reality and it hurt your widow feelings? Oh, I'm sorry. Why don't you write to P.O. Box 405, Boulder, Colorado, and we'll send you a complete refund of today's purchase price. All right. I've got a little thing in my notes here. What does it say, Jared? I'm not allowed to say, I can say that, right? Can I say that as long as I don't add any other words to it?
Yes, because you could be using a pack mule of some sort.
Yeah, there are horses and there are pack mules and there are donkeys here in the Platte Valley. And so I guess if there's a horse, there's a mule, there's mules, there's donkeys, that there could be an ass or two in the valley here. And if you have a pack mule or a donkey, I think that you need to get your ass to the mountains. That's what I think you need to do. Actually, Jared, do you want to tell them a little bit about what we experienced yesterday and the joys and wonders of living in real hardcore free America?
Yes. Well, we had the opportunity to go we met with our friend Dave Sturm, and he is an outfitter at Silver Spur Ranch here in Wyoming, an encampment. And they have a really cool new thing that they opened a couple years ago, and it's a mile-long range. Not 1,000 yards, a mile.
Yep, they have
the longest target is a mile.
Yes, they have a 1,000-yard range, and some people say, well, okay, 1,000 yards, and can you do better than that? And they said, all right, well, we'll put a silhouette target out at 1,400 yards, and then people said, well, can you do better than that? I'm like, okay, we'll put a target out at 1,760 yards, and for all you math wizards, that's a mile. So, yes, when you're standing on the range, you can just see
like
forever.
It's crazy because I think that's probably the longest range that I've stood on. And
I know it is. I know that.
The 100-yard target looks so close.
Yeah.
Because there's so much more land behind it.
Yeah, the 100-yard. He's like, well, that's the 100-yard one. I was like,
that's
really?
like 25
that's the full
yards.
100?
Yeah.
That seems really close.
Yeah.
No, it's fantastic. Very rarely are you ever going to encounter. If you're east of the Mississippi, you guys know, I've lived east of the Mississippi most all of my life, except when I was in the Marine Corps. And the little bit of time I spent in Colorado 20 years ago. But on the East Coast, anything east of the Mississippi, a range that's more than 200 yards is rare. A 500-yard range is really rare. And you could probably count on one hand the number of 1,000-yard ranges that are open to the public east of the Mississippi. There aren't that many. I know some people are jumping, I know one. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad you know one. But really, I was in the United States Marine Corps, and I was on the West Coast, I was on the East Coast, I was overseas. And even the Marine Corps, a 1,000-yard range, as a matter of fact, I think the only 1,000-yard range I ever encountered when I was in the Marine Corps was at 29 Palms. I know there wasn't one at Lejeune, or at least there wasn't one that we ever had access to, or when I was in. I never set foot on a 1,000-yard range.
The only 1,000-yard range I set foot on was the one at Rifles Only in Texas.
Yeah, and it was 1,000 was the max.
Yeah,
it was the farthest target. Mile long, that's crazy. And you're like, well, what do you use for a backstop? That's a long. We just use a mountain.
I don't know if that's big enough.
He's
got berms behind the target so you can see the dirt. So you can see the
dirt kicking up. But there's actually the backstop is a mountain.
Yeah.
And if you're like happen to shoot over the mountain, I don't think we're going to be shooting over the mountain to the other side. We're just talking about small arms. We're not talking about artillery or anything like that.
Maybe in the future.
Yeah. Well, no. Spur Outfitters, as you guys may know, if you've heard us talk on the radio for the last 3-4 years or so, I've been out here to Spur Outfitters, 100 prairie dogs and coyotes and stuff in the summertime. They have a fantastic setup out here. They have a hunting lodge and a fishing lodge. And you're like, a fishing lodge? What's that all about? Well, they actually have a full-service lodge that's right on the Platte River. And then they have another one called the Hanging Bull, and it's a hunting lodge. It's a mountain lodge. And Jared took a whole bunch of pictures of it that he hasn't shared with me yet. You're like, oh, that's right, I haven't. I was going to. Go ahead and tell me how you were going to.
No, I wasn't going to.
You weren't?
No.
Because you sent me a text saying that you're like, well, what do you think about these? And you said you used the word these, but you didn't send it. You didn't attach any pictures.
Yeah, I did.
They didn't come through on my phone.
Oh. Well, see, it's not my fault.
Yeah, that's it. They're in outer space. They're flying around right now. But Jared took a whole bunch of pictures of the lodge, of the range, and the reason I'm telling you this, I'm not just trying to brag, and I'm not trying to make you jealous, and I'm not trying to make you envious. I'm telling you this because if my words are dripping ever so gently into your ear holes right now, you can come here and participate in all this freedom goodness, this real America with us. That's right. You can. If you are a business person, let's say you are a manager or you own a business, you're a president of a company, and you're looking for a retreat for your people, you want to get them out of the city. You guys live in Dallas, Fort Worth, or you live in Atlanta, or you live in any kind of big city, and you look around and you're like, I need to take these people, and I need to get them the hell out of this city. I need to get them away from all the distractions and the nonsense.
It's excellent team building atmosphere.
Yes. You bring them out here. They have they have a huge. It's not really. It's not a conference room. It's a recreational room. There's couches and chairs and tables and fireplaces. And I'm telling you guys, even if you didn't pull a trigger, even if you never pressed a trigger, it would be worth coming here. But
that would be wrong.
Well, that would be wrong. But you still could.
It would still be worth it.
But you can come here and you can take. They've got a sporting clays range. They've got a pistol range. They've got a long rifle range. They've got this thing called the Platte River, which is full of trout. They have fishing packages. They have hunting packages. And if you want to come and just bring your troops, we haven't even mentioned the hot springs yet. Here's the dealio.
Yep.
You could come here, do a retreat, stay at one of the two lodges, the fishing lodge, or you stay at the hunting lodge, or what have you. Do your team building, do some trap shooting, do whatever, do some fishing. And then in the evening, you just pack your butts into a couple of cars and you go to the natural hot springs that Saratoga is actually on the map for. If you look at a map, it's in the number one attraction or public attraction in Saratoga is the hot springs.
Right after Student of the Gun.
Yeah, right after Student of the Gun. But yeah, the natural hot springs has been here for hundreds of years. If you read any of the history, you'll find that the Native American Indian tribes would make treks deliberately to this area of the country so that they could soak in the hot springs and take in the big medicine. And the great thing about the Saratoga Hot Springs is it's open 24/7, 365 days a year, and you just need to behave yourself. It costs you nothing. There's no state monitoring. There's no bureaucrat to tell you to get in or get out, or it's closed or shut up or anything like that. It's kind of like free America. And I'm telling you guys right now, consider Student of the Gun as your advance party. We arrived here in Saratoga, Wyoming, in Carbon County in the Platte Valley, and we conducted the advance for you.
Well, what do you know about advances?
I know just
like you've never done them before.
A little bit. Yeah. We conducted the recon for you, and now we're reporting back. Think about it like that. We went out on a recon mission, and we've come back with our report. And I'm going to tell you guys that now is the time to start preparing. You can come here in January, the other J, June, July, August, September. The snow starts to fly the end of October. November, they have big game hunting. Now, the big game hunting, you kind of have to book that a ways in advance.
Like a couple years.
Yeah, you got to book that. If you want to go take an elk or something, you really need to do that. But I'm telling you, folks, what we did today, and this is episode 577, in case you didn't remember. And we've got a link in there, SpurOutfitters.com/Wyoming. Just go to the show notes, click on it, and start digging around. And this is your invitation to come visit us. And right now we don't have a scheduled training class. That is going to change, and we are going to be scheduling training. And for all of you hippies and freaks who live on the western side of the Mississippi, and for the last 3 years you've been like, I was going to go, you're in Biloxi and it's so far away from me. All right, freak. You live in Iowa, Nebraska, Colorado, Idaho, Wyoming, California, Utah. Okay, we're 5 hours drive from Utah, and we're a couple hours drive from Nebraska, Iowa, you name it. So all you guys out there who are all like, "Well, I'd go to one of your classes if you're closer." Well, to many of you, we are closer now. So now what's your excuse? That's what I thought. You don't have one. And I wanted to do all the positive first because not everything in today's show is positive. What do we got at the bottom here? All right, let's. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because, quite frankly, I want to spend more time on I want to spend more time on the Student Thing on Homeroom than I do on this nonsense. But it needs to be discussed. All right, story from Breitbart.com. And this kind of ties in with what went on this week. You know who's the luckiest racist scumbag Muslim missionary in the world? Who is it, Jared? That douchebag in California who just killed all those white Christian people because he hates white people and Christians and Aloha Snack Bar. You know why he's lucky and fortunate? Because that NFL player just hung himself. And so the media was given an easy pass. They don't have to talk about that now because the football player that hung himself in prison is the number one story. So all the news agencies that really didn't want to report on a black Muslim deliberately targeting and killing white Christian people,
which is not racist at all.
Oh, we just don't want to talk about that. And they're like, hey. I can see the newsrooms all across America. Aaron Hernandez just hung himself in jail. Oh, thank the Lord. All right, stuff. We get a pass now. We can talk about that, and we'll just forget all about little Johnny Jihad going on a rampage and killing white people in California because has nothing to do. That's not racist, and it has nothing to do with the religion of peace. It's a lone wolf incident. So just calm down. I mean, this one kind of ties into it. Here we go. This is a story from Breitbart.com. And it is dated, I'm going to give you the date right here, April 14th, 2015 by R. Hawkins, AWR, R. And the title is, Black Judge Gives Black Home Invader Probation, Attacks White Family for Racism. What the farfignugan did you just say, Paul? Well, let's go ahead and dive in here. A black judge offended by a white family's concern that their toddler was frightened of black men after a violent home invasion and robbery, publicly shamed them and let the convicted man off with probation. So what we have here is, let me see. When Gregory Wallace was sentenced for alleged armed home invasion near Bucktown, Kentucky, Judge Olu Alu, it's O-L-U. Never seen that name before. Have you ever seen O-L-U as a first name?
No, I've not.
Alu Stevens slammed the homeowners, Jordan and Tommy Gray, for not correcting their daughter's fear of black men. Well, why would their 3-year-old daughter be afraid of black men? Well, let me see. Because they were at home in March of 2013 when Wallace, who is non-Caucasian, burst into their home and held them at gunpoint while they robbed them. So we have a little 3-year-old who's being held at gunpoint in her home, in her place of safety.
So there was him and another one.
Oh, yeah.
Another assailant as well.
And, wow. Oh, here we go. According to the Courier-Journal, prior to Wallace's sentencing, Jordan Gray confessed that since the horrible home invasion, her daughter was terrified of black men. What a racist this 3-year-old is. So here's the deal. So Judge Olo Stevens, who also happens to be non-Caucasian, decides that this monster, this violent felon who thinks it's okay to break into your home and hold you at gunpoint while we rob you, because that's, gives him probation. That means he's not going to prison, kids. This is what Judge Stevens said. Here's a quote from Judge Stevens. I am offended. I am deeply offended that they would be victimized by an individual and express some kind of fear of all black men.
It's a child. What do you expect? How does a child make decisions? How does they develop their
He says,
thought process?
and then he says, well, she can't help the way she feels. Speaking of the 3-year-old. But then he goes, accepting that kind of mentality and fostering those. He attacked the parents for accepting the mentality of the 3-year-old and fostering stereotypes. So get this. So the Caucasian individuals who were at home minding their own business, 2 scumbag thugs burst into their home, hold them at gunpoint in front of their little 3-year-old daughter, and rob them. And the judge thinks that the victims of the home invasion need to get their heads right. Yeah. Hey, welcome to America 2017. And I would suggest that you folks who live in this area where this judge is, that you might want to consider taking your country back. You might want to consider, does Judge BLM Stevens, is he elected? Is he an elected official? Because I think that maybe you guys might want to just go ahead and reconsider this guy. It might be time for him to step down. So that leads us right into our latest story. And we've got a story here from abcnews.com. And you know that it killed ABC News to have to report this. It killed those left-wing scumbags to have to report this. But they couldn't ignore it because Aaron Hernandez hadn't killed himself yet, so they had to report this. Fresno shooter wanted to kill many white people, police say. What? You mean gun control didn't stop him from... you'd obviously need more gun control in the PR, there, or People's Republic of California. A man wanted in the slaying of a security guard set out to kill as many white people as he could on Tuesday, gunning down 3 men on the streets of downtown Fresno before he was captured and admitted to the shootings. Corey Ali Mohammed. Sounds like a fine little... what do you think? Maybe he's... Baptist, Jared, or maybe he's a practicing...
I think he's Buddhist.
He's practicing Buddhist. Corey Ali Mohammed, 39, was arrested after the rampage that left 3 white men dead. Police said Mohammed, who was non-Caucasian, fired 16 rounds in less than 2 minutes, at 4 places within a block, shooting men who appeared to be going about their day. During the arrest, Mohammed screamed, "Aloha snack bar!" Yes. And of course they feel the need to put in the story that that's a Middle Eastern phrase meaning God is great. Yeah, I'm sorry, but the 7th century moon god is not Yahweh. They're not the same. So. And here we go. It says, this is solely based on race, Dyer told reporters. And the fact that he's named Mohammed and is screaming Aloha snack bar has nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with the religion of peace and brotherhood here. It's just a coincidence. Just a coincidence, America. And if you think otherwise, then you're a racist xenophobe. And you better stop it, and you better just flush out your head, racist xenophobe person. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Whitey. You better get your head right. No. I'm not going to spend any more time talking about this because on Monday we're going to get into we're going to talk about reacting versus reactionary, and part of the problem that we have going on in the United States of America. Now, I want to spend a considerable amount of time, or I want to address the student of the gun homeroom. I want to give it its proper due and time. So before we do that, I want to thank our friends at Brownells because, well, Brownells has, if you're a gun person, if you're an aspiring gun person, they have everything you want and everything you need. They got ammo and scopes and they have actual guns. They got all that stuff. All you have to do is take the time to go to brownells.com and make sure you're getting their newsletter. So when all right, great example. 2 days ago, they ran a 1-day only flash sale, free shipping.
You could save a ton of money.
All you had to do was put in the promo code. You know how you got that promo code? You opened your email. Yep. So if you missed out on it, sucks to be you, but it's your own fault. You got no one to blame but yourself. Go to brownells.com. Frog Lube Green, minty fresh. It is extreme. And if it's extreme, then it works down to -40. And like I said before, if it's -40 outside, I probably won't be out there. But if you want to go out to -20, -30, or -40, you can feel assured that your Frog Lube Extreme will do its job. It is a non-petroleum based. It's a food grade, essentially, non-petroleum firearms lubricant. And you can get it from Brownells or you can get it from Frog Lube. Do whatever you want. You're an American. Century Arms, the sweetest smelling arms maker in the U.S. of A. And you know what we're going to take out, and we're going to our new super fun playland. I pretty much guarantee you that I'm going to be out there with my TP9 SF Elite and the SFX. Don't forget about the SFX. And we'll be out there shooting and generating a whole bunch of once-fired brass. Now, if you'd like to find out more, go to centuryarms.com. Duracoat, because life is too short to have an ugly gun, beginning and end of sentence. And you say, but Paul, where can I pick up Duracoat products? I know, right? That's what you were thinking. He said, I don't know. Well, you could go to Brownells and do it. You could go to Lauer Weaponry and do it. You can go anywhere you want and just type in the words Duracoat, Duradize, Durablue, Durametal. Go crazy, my friends. Just don't have an ugly gun. That's all I want for you. And last but certainly not least in our current list, our hit parade, is SWAT Fuel. Stronger bodies, sharper minds, SWAT Fuel. If you're on a mission, if you've got a mission, if your goal is to have a sharper mind and a stronger body, and the two of them go together, well, SWAT Fuel can help you out. And you want to go to SWATfuelstore.com. And when you go there, use the promo code SOTG2015, and they're going to take care of you, and you're going to save some money.
Attention, new listeners. We produced a free training video series called 7 Training Tips That Could Save Your Life. We want you to have access to this life-saving information. Get instant access now at studentofthegun.com. Do you watch Student of the Gun TV, read the blog, and follow us on Facebook? If you answered no to any of those questions, you are wrong, but you can easily fix yourself. Go to studentofthegun.com to find everything SOTG.
What you gonna do when it all comes back to the place that you never wanted it to come back to? And where you gonna roll when the bottom drops out and you got no place to go? Who you gonna trust when trust is a must? You better roll with the rest of us. So pack your bags and all the faith you can, cause it's about ready to hit the fan. Come to the ready. 2012, not about the re-election of an antichrist. Come to the ready. You don't believe me, just so deep into the soul of the lion's eyes. Come to the ready. The Constitution of our nation is under attack. Say it. Come to the ready.
And a big thank you to our friends at Crossbreed Holsters for sponsoring the Student of the Gun Homeroom segment each and every week. If you want to find out more, if you'd like to carry a gun, you'd like to carry one comfortably, then you might want to pop over to crossbreedholsters.com. All right, we have we've got a topic here that we need to discuss. And as you know, as dedicated students of the gun, we often find ourselves in a situation where we encounter a problem or issue, and rather than apply the full measure, it's easier or it's more mentally comfortable to us to apply half measures. And half measures aren't going to cut it, and we're going to talk about why. Now, Jared has gotten permission to read a letter from one of our listeners, from one of our students of the gun out there in the audience. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close my big old mouth, and I'm going to let Jared read you this letter, and then we're going to talk about it.
All right. It says, "Hi, I've been watching your videos. I'm a 66-year-old woman and was thinking of getting a stun gun, but you suggest that won't help with protection. On January 25th, 2017, I was walking my dog at 1:30 p.m. Take note of that, 1:30 p.m.
Middle of the day.
And was attacked and sexually assaulted. I've been walking these trails for 5 years at different times of the day to vary my schedule, and it is a very nice area. The first thing he did was to remove my pepper spray from my hand. The police told me to wear a personal alarm. No one came when I was screaming, so I don't think the alarm is the answer. So now I have pepper spray strapped to my wrist and the personal alarm that rings at 143 decibels. I took a self-defense class, but I still feel vulnerable because I'm not very strong. I love walking and usually walk 3 to 4 miles per day. I have been walking different places since the attack, but there can be attackers anywhere. Any suggestions? I could really use your input.
Okay, well, yes. And people say, well, what do you mean stun guns aren't the answer? Well, if you haven't paid attention, those things that they sell at the kiosk in the mall, the handheld stun guns. Handheld stun guns are not tasers. Taser is a specific product. It is a brand name. And unfortunately, most people, they lump stun guns and tasers into the same thing, or into the same category, but they're not. The reason a stun gun is a bad idea is because in order to get maximum effect from it, you have to either wait for the attacker to close on you and then use it, or you have to deliberately close the gap and use it on them. All right. And it takes 4 to 5 seconds of constant, deliberate contact to gain maximum effect or gain effect. Very few people are going to hold still and let you hold a stun gun or press it against them for 4 to 5 seconds. We talked about it on the show before. Jared, how many times can you punch someone in the face in 5 seconds?
At least 10.
A lot of times. So the reason that police don't carry handheld stun guns anymore is because they are crap. They waste the real estate on your belt and they don't use them. And bad guys are not afraid of them. The only people that are afraid of the blue sparks of the stun gun is you. Okay? Your mom or your dad or your uncle or your grandma or grandpa, those are little kids. Those are the only ones that are afraid of the blue sparks. The people that are going to rape and rob and assault you, they're not afraid of the little blue sparks. And they're not really even afraid of tasers. Sadly, criminals have become accustomed to tasers. A taser to a criminal is like a freebie. They know that they're going to go down for a little bit. They'll be in pain for maybe 5 seconds, but the after effects will be nil. They'll be good to go. They won't have any bruises or broken bones or contusions or bleeding or anything. Tasers are very effective, but they have also, well, they've given the bad people a pass. And people that 20, 30 years ago, violent criminals with knives and bats and stuff that were out to smash your skull in, we taser them and tell them to behave and don't be a bad boy anymore. And then they go out and they smash someone's skull in with a bat when there's no cops there. That person 30 years ago would have been ventilated, and then they wouldn't be out there smashing people's heads in with bats or stabbing them. But I digress. Pepper spray. Yes, pepper spray is good, but here's the deal. And this is what I'm afraid is this is, we're not going to say this person's name, and it doesn't really matter. I don't have to address her by name if she's listening. The problem with the pepper spray or the stun gun or any tool is that a tool is worthless without the mental commitment to use it. Without this, and without getting into personal detail on this, I can tell you, if your first indication that someone is going to harm you is when they put hands on you and physically grab you, hit you, strike you, assault you, if that's the first time you realize that there's a problem, you have a problem. Because more often than not, very rarely is your attacker a ninja. They don't hide in camouflaged in trees and drop out on you. They do things like they walk up and they're like, hey man, hey, I gotta ask you a question. And then you're like, oh, I don't want to talk to you or whatever. And you do the whole, I'm going to engage them. And while you're doing this nonsensical engagement, they're planning and they're plotting their attack. So what they do is they're like, hey man, hey buddy, hey. And they say something stupid like whatever. They just say stupid nonsensical things. Where'd you get them shoes or whatever? And so what you do is you take the time to engage your brain and to respond, and you start talking. And the moment you do that, they close the distance and they assault you. And before you know it, you've been assaulted. And you're not using the tool that you're carrying, whether it's a gun, knife, pepper spray, whatever. Should this person that I'm talking about be carrying a gun? Abso-freaking-lutely. A 66-year-old woman should never be going mano-a-mano against a thug. Should not be going hand-to-hand against a thug. That is a disparity of force. If anyone who's not a 66-year-old man or woman is attacking this woman, they have the disparity of force. They have the advantage. And from a legal standpoint, she could, yes, indeed, use a sexual assault is a felony, and a felony is deadly force. And quite frankly, she would be justified in shooting them. But here's the thing. You have to have the mental commitment to use that tool. Carrying it's just like the talisman. I got a 380 and I keep it in my front pocket. And so I'm going to be safe from all evil because it's there. It's not a magical good luck charm. Pepper spray and tasers and guns aren't good luck charms. They don't just put a cone of imperviousness, even if it has hydroshocks in it. I hate to break your heart. So step one, you need to mentally prepare yourself. You need to get some training or some coaching or some whatever so that you are ready to do it. If you have pepper spray in your hand and the bad guy is able to take it out of your hand or knock it out of your hand, then you weren't there. You weren't ready. And that, quite frankly, is the biggest problem. We talked about it in Honey Badger, preparing your kids, your daughters or sons to deal with the vicious monsters of the world. I went into great detail in the Team Honey Badger book about how we do that, how we prepare them to deal with the dangers of the world. But step one, you got to get your head right. Step two, get a gun. And you should have training and practice, and you need to be mentally prepared. Now, on Monday, this is Thursday. It's the last public hour of the week. Sorry. Now, tomorrow on the grad program, we're going to go into great detail about the LA riots and the 25th anniversary of the LA riots, and that's what we're experiencing right now. We've got some audio clips for you to consider. We're going to talk about what have we learned, and have we learned anything, and what can we expect out of law enforcement, American law enforcement, and ourselves as citizens. Now, Monday, I want you guys to make sure you're tuning in Monday, and we're going to talk about active killers, active assaults, active things. And are we reacting or being reactionary? I don't know. Let's talk about it on Monday. Now, for all you grad program members, we're going to be back tomorrow morning, and we're going to talk to you guys. And if you'd like to be a member of the grad program, you can. We'll allow you. Go to Student of the Gun Radio, and you can sign up today and be listening immediately.
StudentoftheGunRadio.com. We would love to have you with us, even if you just want to try it out. Try it out for a little while. If it's for you, great. If it's not, that's okay too.
All right, kids, but remember, you're a beginner once, a student for life.